The sun is setting over the savannah, and a lone male lion leaves his pride in search of food. He stalks a lone zebra, but the chase ends abruptly when the zebra disappears into its burrow. Lions don't like to hunt underground, so our frustrated feline friend comes up empty-pawed and returns home. But maybe he didn't come up entirely empty-pawed. Maybe that zebra left something behind. Hi, I'm here with Minute Earth. Have you ever seen an animal just vanish into thin air? It seems like magic, but it's really just clever adaptations for surviving in a shadowy world. From the burrows of burrowing animals to the dens of predators, some of the coolest animal architecture is hidden from our sight, and some of the most elusive animals are masters of vanishing acts, which can make them seem downright creepy. But if we want to understand what these creatures are up to, we have to go spelunking into their secret lives. First, we need to talk about sabi, which doesn't stand for anything, but is a scientific term used to describe subterranean or subnivean spaces, basically anywhere below ground or under the snow. Sabi are important because they can be full of critters. They offer shelter from predators, protection from the weather, and sometimes access to resources that aren't available on the surface. And all kinds of animals use sabi. Everything from small mammals like mice and moles to reptiles like snakes and turtles, and even birds like owls and woodpeckers. That said, not all sabi are created equal. When we think of subterranean spaces, we tend to imagine caves, which are sabi. But there are other kinds too. Spaces beneath the snow are considered sabi, as are hollowed-out logs and tree cavities, rock crevices, and even abandoned rodent burrows. And while there's a lot of variety in the sabi world, they all share one thing in common: they're dark. So let's go back to our zebra hunting lion. Say that instead of calling it a night after failing to nab that zebra, our lion sticks around. Long after sunset, sabi can be cold, dark, and damp, which means our lion would have to wait until morning for his eyes to adjust before he could see well enough to do anything. In fact, even once his vision has adjusted, sabi can still be so dark that you can't make out much more than shapes. This environment is so different from the world above ground that the animals who live down here have evolved special adaptations for life in the shadows. Take the star-nosed mole, for instance. Moles are mammals, which means that their vision is pretty poor to begin with. And this species, which is found in eastern North America, is no exception. Living in sabi all day, every day means they've had a lot of time to evolve other senses to help them get by, like their sense of touch, thanks to the 22 fleshy appendages on their nose, which contain receptors for things like temperature and texture, but also a ton of nerve endings. These fleshy appendages can detect the vibrations made by worms tunneling through the soil, allowing moles to zero in on tasty treats. And their excellent sense of smell helps them locate food and identify potential mates. And because moles spend so much time underground, their ears have evolved to be tiny, since they don't have to worry about things like detecting airborne sounds or maintaining balance while hopping around. Our star-nosed mole is just one example of an animal whose adaptations allow it to thrive in the darkness. Other animals might not have such specialized adaptations, but they do exhibit behaviors that help them survive. Take owls, for instance. There are hundreds of owl species, many of which are nocturnal or at least crepuscular, meaning active at dusk or dawn, and a whole bunch of them hang out in cavities during the day, which can be deep in trees or in cliffs. This behavior is thought to have evolved multiple times in unrelated groups of birds, likely because the advantages of living in cavities outweigh any disadvantages. That's because being in a cavity offers protection from daytime predators, harsh weather, and potentially even human development. And while some owls may suffer from poor eyesight as a trade-off for their excellent hearing and maneuverability, others have eyes adapted for low-light conditions, which allows them to hunt in the dim glow of dawn and dusk. Owls and moles are just two examples of animals that live in sabi, but they're far from the only ones. Many animals seek shelter in sabi from time to time, like when they're migrating or raising young or trying to avoid predators. For instance, black bears have been documented using caves in the winter, which may help them conserve energy. Some sabi are home to whole communities of animals, like the extensive network of burrows that prairie dogs create each year. These burrows serve as homes for prairie dogs, but they also provide habitat for burrowing owls, who take advantage of the tunnels when they're kicked out by their prairie dog landlords. But sometimes it's not only animals who benefit from sabi. Plants can take advantage of these underground spaces too. Some species grow toward light sources that penetrate the soil surface, allowing them to photosynthesize without ever seeing the sun. And in desert environments, some plants have evolved to take advantage of shade cast by large boulders, which can create protected areas where moisture is more readily available. Of course, not all sabi are safe havens. Some places that might look like great spots to hide from predators are actually dangerous for the animals who use them. Take Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, USA. With more than 400 miles of explored passages, it's the longest known cave system in the world. It's also home to more than 90 known species of bats. But it's also home to hungry predators like the northern long-eared bat. That's because bats often find themselves sharing their roosts with cave-dwelling spiders, scorpions, isopods, and of course, the bat's favorite snack, other bats. And while some bats can tolerate their cave-sharing situations, white-nosed bats can't. White-nose syndrome, caused by a fungus, thrives in cool, moist places like caves, and the disease can wipe out entire colonies of bats. The fungus grows on the bat's skin, specifically in the nooks and crannies of their fur, which means bats with thicker fur like the little brown bat can better resist the fungus. So while some bats can flee to the safety of the sky when danger appears, others can't run away from the fungus, which is why they might be hanging out in less ideal places. After all, the fungus also kills off insects, which bats love to eat. So by moving to new habitats, bats might just be looking out for their own best interests. In some cases, animals have even been observed using human-made structures as sabi, which brings us back to sabi. A sabi isn't necessarily a bad place to be. Sabi can be hospitable, but sabi can also be dangerous. Ultimately, how habitable a sabi is depends on a number of factors, like how dark it is, whether there's enough water and nutrients, and how easy it is to get in and out. But the same characteristics that make a space more habitable also make it more prone to being discovered, and sabi that are easily accessible are usually less hospitable. So the line between a safe haven and a risky refuge can be a fine one. But for elusive creatures, having somewhere to hide is essential. After all, being elusive is kind of the point of going dark. So whether they're evading predators or sneaking up on prey, avoiding detection is critical. And that's true for both animals who live their lives underground and those who pop in from time to time. Because while sabi may be dark, they're full of opportunities for animals who know how to take advantage of them. Speaking of opportunities, you know what else is full of opportunities? Asking you a question. Do you remember the last time you were outside looking up at the sky and wondering about what's out there? Wonder is a powerful motivator for learning, which is why we're excited to be partnering with an organization this season to bring you a new series called Wonder. Each week we'll explore a wonder-filled topic like space exploration, climate change, the pandemic, artificial intelligence, the economy, and voting. We'll dive into the big questions about how the world works and how we can make it a better place. And each episode will be presented in partnership with an organization. You'll find experts talking about cutting-edge discoveries and breakthroughs, as well as stories from people on the ground doing the work to make positive change happen. Plus, we'll have hands-on activities, interactives, and even some crafts you can do at home to help you engage with the topics we're discussing. And it's all free. You can check out the first episode of Wonder on our site or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes premiere every Thursday starting October.